One of these is a ghost. It's not hiding from you, it's waiting for you. And when it finds you, your flesh won't just rot. It'll start dissolving before you even realize what touched you. And yes, it will burn and it will hurt. The other is a true gladiator, a tactical hunter that's already tracked you before you've even seen it. And guess what? They both come out at night when you sleep. Yeah, I said it. I know. You guys heard all the talk, and that's all it is. But now you're going to see the evidence. This is where it gets real, guys.
All right. Today we're looking at a real-life legend, the Brown Recluse, or Loxosceles reclusa. I've got him here in a sampling vial. At a distance, he just looks like a tan scrap of dust, but we're going to put him under the glass and see why this little guy has such a big reputation. No fancy 1,000 times today, you guys. We're sticking to 40 times and 100 times so you can actually recognize the architecture of this thing. Most people see the spider and run, but you know what? We're going to stay and take notes. So before we zoom in, let's talk about the gear I'm using. You see me placing him in this petri dish and adding a bit of glycerin. You ask why glycerin? If I use water, he just float around, or the surface tension would distort the image. So glycerin is much more viscous. Think of it like a clear, thick syrup. It does two things. One, it acts as a clearing agent, making the exoskeleton slightly more translucent so we can see the internal structures better. Second, it keeps a specimen still. So here's a little behind the scenes, you guys. The system and the equipment that I use, pretty small, pretty simple, but it does the job. Dropping down to 40 times magnification, you see those long dark spikes? Those are setae. Now, why does a spider have hair? It's not for warmth. These are actually high-tech sensors. Spiders don't have ears. They hear by feeling tiny vibrations in the air through these hairs. They also smell chemical signatures on the floor with them. So think about that. Every time you take a step, you're sending out a shock wave that the spider picks up like a sonar ping. He doesn't just see you. He feels your heartbeat through the floorboards. I wanted to show you guys how a recluse sees. Now, I did some research. This is an illustration. Given the facts, this is what actually a recluse sees through his lens. So check out the very tip of the leg. You see those wicked little hooks? Those are tarsal claws. They're basically built-in grappling hooks. This is why a recluse can sprint across their ceiling without even breaking a sweat. They grip onto the microscope ridges in the wall that you can't even see. It's like nature's version of a professional rock climber with permanent crampons. He's never losing his grip. People always call this a violin on its back, but honestly, it looks more like a dark, blurry ink stain. So if you see a dark neck-shaped smudge on a tan body, that is your sign to back up, you guys. It's less of an instrument and more of a keep away sign. So while I'm moving the slide around and getting our bearings, let's talk about what actually makes a brown recluse a recluse. The name is just not for show, you guys. These are introverts of the spider world. They aren't out there looking for a fight. They're usually tucked away in a cardboard box or behind a baseboard, just trying to stay out of your way. True to its name, the recluse is a ghost. It avoids conflict at all costs, while the wolf spider stands its ground. Now notice the color as I pan across the legs. It's that uniform dull tan, no stripes. This is a blue collar spider. If you see one with striped legs or bright spots, it's probably a common house spider or a wolf spider. The recluse keeps it very simple. As we scan over the cephalothorax, that's the front section. You might notice it's got a bit of a slope to it. It's built low to the ground for squeezing into tight crevices. This is why they love your attic or that big pile of old clothes in your garage. They want to be where you aren't. And check out the eyes. Most spiders have 8 eyes in 2 rows. Not this guy. He's only got 6 arranged in 3 pairs. It's one of the most reliable ways to ID them if you can get close enough, which honestly, most people don't want to. The big takeaway here is that they aren't aggressive, thank God. They don't have a vendetta against you. Most bites happen because someone puts on a pair of boots that haven't been on like in 6 months, and the spider goes crazy, gets squished. It's a defensive get off me move, not a hunt. But as we're about to see, when we get into those fangs, even a defensive move from this guy is something you definitely want to avoid. So we're finally looking at the business end. These 2 things right here are called the clerestory. Think of them like a power tools that hold the fangs in place. If you look at those tips, they're like tiny polished needles, super sharp, they're super efficient, and they don't really need much force to pierce the skin. Now, a common myth is that the fangs are just big tanks of poison, but they're not. The actual venom is tucked further back in the head in these little glands. When this guy bites, he uses muscles to squeeze those glands. And honestly, it's just like you're squeezing a tube of toothpaste. And that pressure shoots the juice straight into the victim's skin. For a recluse, that venom is cytotoxic. Plain English, it melts things. It's designed to turn a bug's insides into a protein smoothie so the spider can literally drink its lunch. Yeah, that's gross. He's not being a jerk. That's just how he survives. But seeing the hardware up close like this, yeah, you can see why it wrecks human tissue. It's a crazy piece of engineering, you guys. But do yourself a favor and stay clear. The wolf spider strike is a painful mechanical pinch, but the recluse wins the bite. Its necrotic venom causes far more long-term damage. So look at those two shorter legs in front, right by his face. Those are pedipalps. They aren't actually for walking. They're more like a spider's hands, like our hands. He uses those to feel his way around, taste his food, and basically figure out what's in front of him. It's like he's navigating the world in 3D touch. It's pretty cool. But since he's a hunter, these things are his front line sensors, giving him the go or no go before he commits to a move. Meet Hogna carolinensis, better known as the wolf spider. And yes, you guys, it's already dead. I'm an investigator, not an exterminator. So yeah, here he is. Let me spin him around for you guys. Take a look. But man, he's mean looking, right? And guess what? I don't like spiders at all. But you know what? I'm doing this for you guys. So I'm going to carefully pull this guy out with tweezers. Got to be really careful not to, there you go, not to split him or lose some legs. And as you notice, his end of his claws, man, they grip really hard, even though this guy's been dead for a while. And as you can see, I'm having a hard time. His last leg needs to be pulled out here. So let me see. One last tug. There we go. Okay, so right now I'm just spreading the legs out so it lays completely flat. When you're at 400 magnification, your focus is razor thin. So if a leg is even slightly curled up, it's just a blurry mess. Okay, so say hello to your nightmares. You're staring straight into one of the main front eyes of our wolf spider. It's a single massive high-def lens. Why? Because this guy doesn't spin a lazy web and wait for Uber Eats. He runs you down. I spent way too much time researching how these guys actually view the world. And look, obviously this is a simulation, you guys. I haven't figured out how to plug in an HDMI cable into a dead spider's optic nerve yet. But based on the science, here's what your worst nightmare looks like. So those two massive front eyes, it gives it a clear crystal view. High def, lock on its dinner. They're the main targeting system. The other 6 around it that you guys looking at right now, they're basically just motion detecting alarm systems. They catch a blurry flash of the movement, the main eyes snap onto it, and boom, it's game over. Let's put this whole terrifying package together. You're looking at a creature with 8 eyes and a face covered in hair. But this isn't just a bad yearbook photo, you guys. This is the ultimate biological hunting machine. Those 2 giant headlights in the middle are locking onto you in high definition, while the other 6 eyes, they act like a 360-degree tripwire. You add in that reflective night vision we talked about, and hiding in the dark is completely useless. But here's the kicker. Even if you somehow stay out of its sightline, the hairs take over. You breathe, it feels air pressure change. You sweat, those tiny little hairs are literally tasting you from across the garage. It's a true predator that can see in the dark, feel your heartbeat in the air, and taste you with its feet. All right, I've stared at this mug long enough. Okay, so we made it to the fangs, the business end, right? This is the exact reason you don't want to find one of these inside your shoe. You're looking directly at the fangs. Thanks to that bottom light, you can actually see they're hollow. Nature basically equipped this thing with the dual hypodermic needles. So when it tackles a bug, those fangs sink in and eject venom that turns the prey's insides into a protein smoothie. It literally drinks its dinner. But what happens if it bites you? Honestly, you're going to be fine, you guys. Their venom isn't built for humans. It feels a lot like a nasty bee sting. You'll get some redness, some swelling, and a big-time, seriously bruised ego. You won't turn into Spider-Man, and your arm is going to fall off, but I guarantee you remember to shake out those boots the next morning. All right, I've officially flipped this dude on his back. It feels a little disrespectful, but in the name of science, and you guys, you need to see this undercarriage. If you thought the top was creepy, the bottom is where the real engineering is. What you're looking at here isn't really a stomach like ours. Spiders are built in 2 main pieces, the abdomen in the back and this front section called the cephalothorax. Zooming in on this front section, this is the central hub. This flat plate right in the middle is called the sternum. Notice how all 8 legs anchor directly into it. It's essentially the chassis of a hairy 8-wheel drive biological tank. Those thick joints right at the base of the legs, those are the coccyx, basically spider hips. They are packed with muscle because This guy has to accelerate fast enough to tackle prey in a dead sprint. And thanks to the bottom light shining through it, you guys can see just how much hair is packed into these joints. It looks like a cheap shag carpet from the 1970s, but hey, just like the face, those hairs down here are sensory tripwires. Every single inch of this creature is designed to gather data. But here is the absolute craziest part about how these legs attach and function. You think they are filled with biceps and triceps, right? Nope, spiders use hydraulics. They have muscles to pull their legs inward. But to push them outward to walk, they literally pump fluid from the central hub into the legs. They walk on blood pressure. If they die or lose fluid, the pressure drops, and those legs automatically curl inward, which is exactly why this guy was rolled up in a tight little ball before I flattened him out. These guys have a terrible PR department. You walk into the garage, flip on the light, and you see this massive hairy thing sprinting across the concrete. Your first instinct is to find a shoe or maybe just burn the damn house down. But the truth is, this is a guy you want in your house. They don't spin annoying webs that you walk into face first on your way out to the car. These are the linebackers of the bug world. They spend all night actively hunting down roaches, ants, crickets, and the bugs that actually ruin our life. They don't pay a mortgage, but they definitely work for their keep. Now, people always ask me, Mr. Bill, what happens if a wolf spider meets a brown recluse? It's a fun scenario. Don't get me wrong, but the brown recluse has a reputation. It's got that highly toxic flesh-rotting venom. It's the boogeyman of the spider world. But here's the reality. The recluse is a fragile, shy little coward that hides in a cardboard box. If a wolf spider and a brown recluse met head-on in the middle of your garage, it's an absolute massacre. It's not even a fight, you guys. Weight classes exist in nature for a reason. The wolf spider's way too big, too heavily armored, and way too fast. Before the recluse even figures out what's happening, the wolf spider's going to tackle it, sink those dual hypodermic fangs in, and turn the boogeyman into a late-night McNugget. So, next time you see one of these hairy little tanks in your floor, just let him go to work. So I looked into the actual psychology of why we hate spiders. You guys, it turns out only 1% of your fear is a valid medical concern. 9% is because you never know which way they're going to jump. But the remaining 90%, yeah, just too many damn legs.
Don't lie about this. You're going to think about what's crawling on your face while you sleep tonight. Don't lie. Check this out. Subscribe for more creepy crawler videos.